What's up, guys? Tortilla here with our, I think, only Canadian coach in the league. Can you confirm?
There's a couple other Canadians in the server. They are sometimes employed, sometimes not. I believe right now I might be the only active Canadian coach here.
Okay. So, let's get into it. So, I believe, if I can do math, this was your 11th year coaching?
It's going to shock. It's actually been 13 years.
Oh, I can't do math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You're good. I had a non-consecutive term as well. So.
Oh, I see that. Oh, interesting. So, just looking at your coach stats tracker, you have... Your worst season was last year, 8-5. You've made a bowl every single year as Aggies head coach. One playoff appearance, no wins, multiple conference championships. What would you just mainly attribute that success to?
I think that success just goes to dedication year in, year out. Especially competing in the Mountain West, you're competing against a bunch of CPUs, right? So as long as you have players and warm bodies that are not kickers, they will do better than the kickers that are on the other random teams. And being able to just manage that, do transfers, do recruiting. I spend a lot of my time doing transfers. That's kind of been like my style of making teams. But even like going to the Big Ten, just that dedication, doing recruits, looking for maybe some players that might be underrated, looking for ways that maybe you can get a leg up on the competition through like lineups and stuff. But it's really just about caring about your team, because I also don't think it's a coincidence that the vast majority of the players that find success have been the ones that have been around for the longest time, or maybe the ones that are maybe the most active in chat, or maybe the ones that are mods who are willing to devote a lot more time and effort to this league. And that will pay off one way or another. Maybe you're not going to win a ring in your first 10 or 15 years. It takes a while sometimes. But as long as you keep going at it, you'll eventually find some sort of success.
So, I'm probably just guessing right here, but it looks like you're one of the fastest coaches to get to 100 wins, just guessing.
Around, I'd say probably top 10, top 15. I didn't go undefeated every single year, but it was definitely a lot faster than maybe some other coaches, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you take over a already developed Utah State team? Is that how I understand it?
No. So, especially, and my memory does not go far back enough to 2038, but in 2044, Utah State was coming off back-to-back 5 and 7 years. And then I took them first year. We went 12-1 in the regular season. Our only loss was week 1 against Indiana. And we did a lot of good that year. And then kind of just building off that, that's why I mentioned, if you're playing in the G5, as long as you have warm bodies, you will do pretty good. And so that is why I really recommend taking an easier team for new coaches, just to have that experience under them. And then obviously, once you move up to the P5, the competition's a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit harder, and you need to have the skills that you've already learned earlier to help you work. Because a really big problem with this league is that newcomers might be overwhelmed with how much there is to learn, or just maybe not having the best of luck in the first couple of years. And once you have that experience behind you, look at Minna Rice with Georgetown. I had to pull so many strings and convince him in DM so many times to stick around for this last season. And in this season, he's gone 13-0, he's won his conference, and he's probably going to the playoffs. And so I don't think I'm going to have to do nearly as much convincing this season to make him stay, right? And so I think once you have that foundation under you, that you're able to stick in the league for longer and put in that dedication.
What year did the move to the Big Ten occur?
I believe it was 2052, because in my records, that is the year that I won the division. Fun fact, Utah State and Northwestern are 2-2 against each other all time in conference play. So me and Circle have actually split that rivalry. And we went 11-3 that season. So I believe that was our first year in the Big Ten. So we've been in it for 4 years.
Okay. So, obviously, you recently announced with Austin moving to Appalachian State, you are going to take over Clemson. So that closes a great career so far in Logan. What was the highlight of that? Is there a highlight that you could pick out from at Utah State?
I think the highlight was 2050, end of the season. We beat New Mexico 58-0 in the conference championship game, and that solidified our spot into the playoffs. Because at that point we were 12-1. We did get blown out in the Fiesta Bowl against Bama. I believe Bama went relatively far that season as well, so it made it sting less. But that was very proud because that was the program's first ever playoff appearance, and also that's kind of just a pinnacle that I had been missing for a while as a G5 coach, constantly having those like 11-2 or 12-1 seasons, but just missing out. And so finally that was very validating. And I guess the second proudest moment, I guess, would be making the South Bend Invitational for the first time. And that was in my 4th year in 2046. We didn't win then. Even today, we still have a losing record in that tournament. We're 6-8. But like last year, we upset number 1 Georgia in the first round. And we probably would have won the entire thing if we didn't lose to South Carolina, or who was it that we faced in the second round right away. But we've been close. We've made it to the finals of that tournament before too. So a lot of preseason fun. I think a lot of the league doesn't come from actually like winning championships and stuff, because there's only so many championships you can win. It comes from the recruits that you get, the connections they make with them, connections you make with the coaches, and just kind of the lore as well. Because there are a bunch of funny lore moments that I would definitely value more than winning just like some random game against a random cupcake.
Like sleeping with Dippy?
You don't have to word it like that, but yes, that did happen.
What do you see being the biggest challenge moving to a completely different conference, the ACC, moving to Clemson, who isn't the hottest of teams right now, to put it nicely?
I think if you look at the roster, there are a couple holes, but then again, there's a couple scholarship spots that are open, and with the recent vacancy of Army, let me just look at the division really quickly, how it's set up. But I think the only real other like competitive teams in there are Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. And Notre Dame has not been as dominant as they have been in the past. Just looking at this, Florida State's probably going to be relatively decent, but hey, I think we can still take them on. And so, wow.
Is Virginia a joke to you?
Virginia's in the other division. So, Virginia and Virginia Tech, they can fight it out. Like, looking at our conference schedule next year, we're not playing Virginia. So, that's kind of why I didn't name them, for example. It should be a little bit easier. We are playing Virginia Tech. That might not be the best, but we have, like, some relatively good senior pieces. And I think, I mean, you've seen me do my work. Transfers is kind of where I dominate. And so we have an 8 scholarship spot open. My advice to other coaches would just be don't even bother offering, because you're just going to be wasting your time.
Yes. So you're recently a mod. You called your first game day a few weeks ago, right? Or was that your second?
First.
So how did that go? How would you say that went overall?
It was a good experience. It was cool learning the ins and outs of like the behind the scenes and like how the mods do it. It is a little bit of work. It's not actually that much work. It's honestly fun, especially if you find it appealing, which, I mean, if you apply to be a mod, you probably do. I think, personally, for me, the best part of being a mod is just running the crew, because you get to see how people just react to what you do, and all these, like, different funny things, and kind of understanding that you're basically affecting the trajectory of, like, a lot of these teams. And so that's just a really cool experience, too. And every time I see, like, a team that I don't see too often offer a player, I'm, like, rooting for that guy, or kind of finding it really interesting and seeing, like, hey, this is really cool. This crit could be really big for them. Or just handing out hints and being like, hey, here you go, Tulane. Maxed out in, like, 10 straight, like, 400. That's also a really fun experience. The rest of it, I mean, it's just cool being able to see all the channels, being able to interact with everyone a lot more, and just understand how the entire league works.
Any mod secrets you want to let us in on? Did you sign a?
I mean, I don't think the mods are really secretive. Like, if we don't like you, you'll know. If we like you, that's a lie. We don't. And like, honestly, mod chat is like very inactive, other than just like asking who's going to take game day. So the only secret there is that certain mods will be switching teams this offseason, and the mods know, and we will not be revealing that until that becomes public. But there will be some big surprises, so I would stay tuned.
Interesting. We already know about Circle, XL. That's just off the top of my head. Flippy.
Uh-huh.
I don't really feel like thinking anymore. So, what team do you predict will win the national championship now that we have a more clear idea of how the bracket is going to look?
Let me just look at the rankings real quick. I mean, not Georgetown. Northwestern has to be a favorite, in my opinion, because, I mean, I do think they are probably one of the best teams in the league, and they have been for a while, which is, once again, why it's even more of an accomplishment that Utah State's been so close to them throughout the years. Like, we only lost them by 2 points. We lost to our 3 games that we lost, we dropped by a combined 12 points. Think of how if we scored 13 points from those, or just scored like 15 points, I don't know, we would have been 12-0. We'd be doing our own thing. And so the Big Ten is very competitive. I think it's probably going to be a Big Ten team that wins, because like Michigan, very good, but Ohio State beat them. Ohio State, very good, but they have 2 losses to like teams that are worse than them, or maybe they lost to Northwestern. I'm not too sure. But Big Ten cannibalism is a thing that might happen. But I think Georgetown might be a surprise to a couple of people. They remind me a lot of Utah State in 2050. Hopefully they don't lose by as badly as I did back then. But I will be rooting for them because they're my alma mater. But if I have to choose, it would be a Big Ten team. And I think Ohio State just doesn't have the consistent QB play. Michigan has used up all their luck. I hate to say it, but it's probably going to be Northwestern. And I really hope that's not the case. But
it's a Circle Northwestern team. We all know what happens there.
That's true. But there's only so many years that you can be cursed, right? For me with promotion, I got rejected, I think, like 5 times before I got selected. And Amok literally had to give an ultimatum to the rest of the mods. If you don't take Utah State in the Big Ten, I am quitting. And that's the only reason I got it. That
was Amok, right?
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, I got nominated as a rivalry of Utah State versus promotion. So it takes a couple of years, and maybe this would be the year, because, you know, the storyline's amazing too, right? And so maybe, just maybe, whoever is in control of the storyline of this league has decided that would be a very, very cool ending.
Just to touch on your years that you can be cursed, I think XL might be the exception to that rule. I think the engine just hates him in general.
I think he had a couple good years at LSU. I don't have his stats off the top of my head, but I think the thing about a G5 team is that 1 or 2 losses can make or break your entire season. I definitely felt that a lot at Utah State, and I think that's just a casualty of playing worse competition. If you get upset a couple times, your season's just over. And so I wouldn't necessarily chalk that up to bad luck. I just chalk it up to that's just the way things are. And if you don't want to have miserable seasons, you should win the games that you're supposed to win, which I know is a lot easier said than done, but that's just the reality of it. If Utah State had won our 3 games that we lost, we'd be in the playoffs right now. But we didn't. And that's just how things are. And that's just the unfortunate casualty of being in a very competitive conference. Now, the reason why there's 2 lost teams that are in the playoffs are because they played hard schedules. If you play in a G5, chances are you will not be playing a hard schedule. And so you have to almost go undefeated or only have 1 loss. That is just the way things are. And if you're unlucky, tough luck. Try again next year. Believe me, I had to tell Minute Rice that a million times.
Corn or flour tortillas?
Neither. Rice.
Okay. What do you see?
Rice
What
all
do
the
you
way.
hope?
Rice all the way.
What do you hope to see in the league? What do you hope to see happen in the league over the next 5 seasons, just in general? Like, I don't know, a Texas Tech championship.
So I don't think anyone actually wants to see that, but immediately I hope that someone takes Utah State and continues the legacy, because otherwise I will feel like emotionally drawn back to take them before I win a championship with either Clemson or Georgetown. But otherwise, I do hope to see the classes get buffed a little bit. So, for example, wide receiver speed be upped, just so we don't have like the desert that we have right now. Or maybe I hope to see a couple more teams that are filled, and some more activity from the coaches that might be less willing to do so right now. But I think the main thing would just be some more very active non-mods, because a lot of the time the very active people get sucked up into the mod crew, and having active non-mods is a sign of like league health and having like newcomers that are relatively interested in the game. So think of like JT, or think of like even ACO, like recently with Michigan State. Like, it's those kinds of people that I'd like to see more of, and hopefully with the summer we'll be able to get more people and we'll be able to retain them.
Hopefully. Another shining example of active non-mod would be Papa.
Oh, he doesn't count. He wishes he was a mod.
I know he does. As we're closing things up here, what would you just say to any new coaches or aspiring coaches who are looking to join, recently joined and having trouble with stuff or stuff like that?
If you want extra help, I will mentor you. I will personally mentor you at Utah State. So please do take that job. Otherwise, there is a learning curve. Beginner info has literally everything. And then you have like 20 or so activity warriors who will be happy to help. There is a steep learning curve, but after that, it's extremely rewarding. That's why a lot of these players get hooked. And hopefully you do too.
I would say I'm hooked.
Oh, we know. Don't worry.
So that's really about it. I don't know if there's anything else you just want to say to the audience before we sign off.
Go Utah State, go Clemson, go Georgetown, and please someone take Utah State to carry on the legacy. Other than that, if you have just randomly discovered this video, there's a reason that 2 randos have spent 20-25 minutes just chatting about a make-believe football league, and that's because it's very fun, and that's because you should get involved in it. So if you are not a part of this league and just randomly stumbled upon this video, there probably aren't that many of you, considering how many views there are on these YouTube videos. But if you are, I'm speaking to you. Please join us.
Pretty good last words. Thank you for your time, Ryan. Thank you to all of you who listened, and see you next time.
Thanks, Torta.